and welcome to Connecting with Kim. I'm your host, Kim Droege, and we're so glad you joined us today here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network for another exciting show of providing you information that keeps you informed, up to date, and living your best life in our little corner of paradise. And I'm so excited about our show today, and I want to start off with a special shout out to my buddy on the State Attorney's Community Council, Thad Baraday, who's talking to me, made this show possible. So let me introduce my guest. My guest today is Mr. Evan Smith, who is the Executive Director of Love, Inc. Welcome to the show, Evan.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited. I couldn't wait to do this show. And I'm so grateful to Thad for bringing this, Baraday for making this possible.
He's the best.
We had lunch one day after a field trip with the State Attorney's Office, and we talked about this, and he said, how about it? And I said, give me the info. We'll do it. Sounds
He
like
probably
a great
called
show.
me right after the conversation was done.
I know he did. Well, when we start connecting with Kim, when we start off, we always allow our guests to spend a few minutes at the top of the show sharing their journey through life thus far. And I would like for you to take a moment to do that too, please.
Absolutely. So how did I get here today? Well, born and raised in the beautiful state of Florida, so I'm one of those elusive native Floridians. And so I grew up in Sanford, Florida. So just outside of Orlando, about 20 minutes north. And you know, from the youngest age that I can remember, my parents and grandparents, especially my Nana and my mom, had me and my brother involved in community service work, whether that was Meals on Wheels or this fantastic ministry that my grandma and her friends started called Grace and Grits at their local Episcopal church. Again, from the earliest age, we were involved in community service work. And so that just stuck with me for my entire life. I ended up going to the University of North Florida up in Jacksonville to get a degree in communications, public relations specifically, go Ospreys. And then spent a little bit of time in Atlanta, but came back to Central Florida because, you know, God was calling me to be in a different path. So I'd done a little bit of branding work, but I said, there's something else out there that he's calling me to be part of. And it was at that time that I remember, hey, you know, I really, really enjoy serving the communities that I call home. Why don't I try and do that for a career? And so, lo and behold, I said, hey, nonprofit work might make that work. And so the first job I could find was at a local homeless shelter in Orlando. And so that was the most amazing entry point because I got to work very closely with folks who were experiencing the most kind of unreal circumstances you can imagine. And so a couple years doing that, and then I ended up here in Tampa about a year, almost a year and a half ago. And I came over here for the job with Love, Inc. One, but two, and probably most importantly, my girlfriend, now wife, was here. I was over there, and so I needed to be here.
Exactly.
So I, you know, God opened the door for me to join Love, Inc. as the executive director and get in the same city as my now wife. We got married in August of this past year.
Oh,
and so
congratulations.
Thank you. She's a amazing person, and also she's a surgical trauma ICU nurse at Tampa General Hospital.
Oh, wow.
So she's actually doing the service in our relationship. But yeah, so I've been here since the end of 2020. And just really, really excited to be here with you today in this community because I've come to find very quickly that Tampa is a really amazing place. So.
It really is. And, you know, I just love you sharing your journey because I can see that it was instilled in you at a very early age to be of service to others, which I've always felt is the highest calling that you can achieve in life, is to make a difference in someone else's life. Your experience with homeless, because, you know, the statistics in the United States are, and even in Florida, are many people are one paycheck, one catastrophe, one problem away from homelessness, which I find, you know, particularly disturbing and daunting as a fellow citizen and resident. But I can see that you have had that calling for service to others. So let's start off with talking about Love, Inc. I love the name, no pun intended. So let's share with the audience what the name means and how it came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Love, Inc. is love in the name of Christ of Metro Tampa. That's our name. We're actually part of a nationwide affiliate, a network of affiliates. And so, yeah, Love, Inc., Love in the Name of Christ. It was launched as kind of the original affiliate back in 1978. So there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Virgil Gulker, who was very active at his local church in the faith community and was also doing a lot of social work. And so he saw that there needed to be a better bridge between where a lot of amazing transformative transformative work was being done and still is being done, which is through the local church and with local nonprofits and social service agency. And so way back then, he came up with the idea of, let me launch this organization that can help build that bridge between these two key pieces in any community, any cities, any region's response to issues like homelessness, poverty, food insecurity. And so again, as a national movement, it launched way back then in 1978. We, as a local affiliate, a part of this nationwide network, there's about 111 affiliates across the country.
Okay.
But as a local affiliate, launched back in 2017.
Okay, so relatively new.
It is relatively new, and it's all credit, or at least a lot of credit. They would tell me not all credit, but a lot of credit to our co-founders, Mike and Ann Doyle, who are a very dynamic, energized, and unstoppable force, a couple who, they had spent a lot of time serving their community, Mike especially. But Mike found himself back in 2010 facing down a really tough medical experience, which was a kidney transplant.
Oh, wow.
And so he was sitting in TGH back then, 2010, so over a decade ago, and he had what he calls his foxhole prayer. And so he said to God, if there's any way I could possibly make it through this, I will dedicate the rest of my life to serving you in serving my community. Just lead me in the direction I need to go. And so he made it through that transplant and some other procedures, praise God. And lo and behold, their sister, Ann's sister, had been serving at a Loving affiliate in Delano, Minnesota. And so they went up there. They saw the model and they said, this is what we want to do. We want to do this in the city of Tampa. And so in 2017, we launched as Love Inc. of Metro Tampa. And what we're focused on doing is building a network of local churches partnering together to transform lives and the community in the name of Christ. And so that is the mission for our organization.
Okay, so so you're a bridge between the work that local churches do and social agencies within the metro area that the affiliate is located. Is Tampa the only affiliate in Florida?
So there's actually 5 other affiliates in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what we're doing in being that bridge is also especially activating members from our partner churches to be in service to folks in the community who are struggling with issues like homelessness, food insecurity, underemployment, unemployment. And so these amazing volunteers, which we have a few dozen that serve through our organization, they are the hands and feet that are doing much of the work we're blessed to be able to do through Love Inc. So we have a couple different ways we get to do that, but they are the ones who are walking alongside folks in a very relationally focused way to try and bring about transformation, because we are all about 2 things. One is relationships. We are intensely, emphatically, intentionally relational, and also we're about transformation. And that's transformation for the lives of our guests, because we say guests, not clients, but our guests, and then also ourselves in serving our guests, because we all need to be transformed.
Well, so you have how many churches do you have affiliated or partners of Love Inc.?
So we have 15 active partner churches right now since our launch in 2017.
Okay, and you're always looking to build that, obviously, right?
Absolutely. If you're a local church, we're going to give you a way to connect with me.
That's what I was going to say. Let's make sure we don't let an opportunity pass by to recruit, right? Okay. So what also, in my discussions with Thad and also in perusing your website in depth, is that what you just talked about was relationship and transformation. So it's not about handouts. It's not about that kind of very specific material thing. It's about empowering that individual by walking alongside them to transform their life. Have I got that right?
Absolutely. You come work for us. So we are all about hand ups, not just handouts. Now, that isn't to say that people don't need to be fed, clothed, and have a safe, stable roof over their head, because there's no question about that. But we have a pretty good process in place that as folks are referred to us, because we get folks who are referred to us either from partner churches. So say somebody shows up at a partner church on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock and says, I need help. Well, that partner church may say, hey, we partner with Love Inc. of Metro Tampa. We're going to refer you to them. They're going to try and provide you the support that you're coming to us to ask for. So whether it's a partner church who's referring to us or just a community member on their own finding us, we have a process in place to, in that commitment to transformation, especially at the very beginning, as much as we can, understand who this person is as a human being.
Right.
Not just an issue that they need to have resolved, although that's important, but who are they as a human being? So we can come up with a plan in partnership with them as a team to try and fully and most completely resolve what has oftentimes been long plaguing them in their life, and especially cycles of instability.
So let's say I'm a person that comes to one of your member churches, and let's say my situation is I'm homeless. Obviously, I'm hungry if I'm homeless, and maybe I have some other issues like addiction or alcoholism or something. Step us through that process you just talked about when I go to the church and the member church says, well, we partner with Love Inc. and we're going to refer you to them. What happens next?
One thing that I want to emphasize before I go into kind of step-by-step process is whether it's somebody who's on the streets right now, and maybe you walk by them later today, or it's a family stuck in a local motel, those folks that are experiencing homelessness, stuck in a cycle of instability, it can be one of the most isolating experiences you could ever imagine. So, you know, imagine that the entire world is passing you by, you need support, and yet you're left oftentimes to try and figure it out on your own.
Right.
And so what we try and do is break down that barrier and try and provide support so that they know that they are not on their own. And so the process usually begins with an interview. And so we have Shirley, Pat, and Charlie back in the office right now. They've done a couple of interviews today. And again, that allows us to best understand this person who needs support. So that interview is the first step in our process. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We ask a lot of questions about the issues, about them as a person, about their family, about their employment history, their housing history. And we walk away from that first interview, again, with the best understanding possible to who they are and the issues that they need to have resolved. From there, we start to work on a plan, connecting to resources, connecting to programs, getting somebody qualified, making sure that they have all the identification. That's usually a huge issue.
I bet it is, especially for somebody who's been chronically homeless.
Absolutely. And so again, you know, we are a small organization. I'm the only full-time team member. I've got 2 amazing part-time team members in this army of passionate volunteers. We don't have millions of dollars in funding. We don't have housing ourselves, but we have very committed people who will walk alongside folks as they go through that process of identifying resources, being qualified for programming, getting all the documentation that may be needed to get into safe, affordable housing. Again, making sure that they don't feel as though they're doing it all on their own. And so that's the start of the process, is the interview, the verifications, the coming up with a plan, the working that plan together over a handful of weeks, months, sometimes even years, so that they can finally achieve long-term, if not lifelong, stability.
This would be a good time for us to take a short break and reintroduce you as the guest on Connecting with Kim today. My guest in the chair is Evan Smith, who is the Executive Director of Love Inc., which stands for Love in the Name of Christ of Metro Tampa. And we're just so thrilled to have him today because we're talking about how Love Inc. works with their partners, partner churches, in walking alongside people who have an issue and helping to transform their life. So you've gone through the interview, you've identified what this person or persons, family could be, need, and then you start the process of connecting them with resources in the county and locally that might be able to help them. Because I would imagine that the goal is to connect them with these resources that are going to help them get control over their situation so that they start living their life in a transformed way on their own independently. Is that what I mean, I would think that would be the goal, right?
Yeah, and so a credit to Mike Doyle, who's one of our co-founders, who he often likes to say, we are journeying with people so that their lives can go from chaos to shalom. or peace.
Yeah, I saw that on the website.
Yeah.
I love that very much.
And so
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
is make sure that, if they're coming through the Help Center, if they're coming to Love Inc., hopefully this is the first time, or at least the only time that we're going to have to provide the support, at least to resolve issues that have been long tough for them to resolve on their own. Now again, we want to be in relationship with people for maybe even a lifetime. And so we are not bound by time when it comes to supporting folks who are needing support. And so again, we may have a family or two right now who we've been working with for a couple years, because when we first started interacting with them, when we first started supporting them, they had a lot of issues that they needed to have resolved.
And sometimes they're interconnected and complicated, and you can't just click your fingers and have it all go away, right?
No,
there are things that have built up over time, and they're going to need time to resolve themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, most people who are experiencing homelessness, stuck in a cycle of poverty, who need support getting out, those issues did not start yesterday, and they won't be resolved by tomorrow.
No.
It's going to take time.
Right.
And so, yes, ma'am.
No, sorry, go ahead.
The thing that I wanted to mention is that we as an organization are committed to the principles of redemptive compassion. And so I talk about a lot of the work that we're doing as an organization in support of folks, but it is imperative that within that work, the folks that we're walking alongside are contributing mutually in the process. And so one of the key pieces of redemptive compassion is that we want to walk alongside, if not a step behind, as people lead their own way to transformation. Again, it goes back to what you mentioned earlier. We are focused on hand up, not a hand out.
Well, and I don't know if you've ever been through any mental counseling of any kind, they always tell you that the answer is really inside yourself. You may not know how to find it, but it's there. And you sometimes just need the help and guidance and structure to figure out what that answer is. Now, you talked about funding before, so I kind of want to cover that. Like, where do you get your funding from?
Yeah, so we're blessed by our partner church network who supports us financially. And then also over the first 6 years of being in existence, we've had wonderful support from individuals and families. And so a lot of our contributions and a lot of our revenue comes from individual and family contributors, especially folks who believe in our vision for how we can transform this community and commit to contributing to the organization for multiple years. And so we are blessed to have a growing number of folks, our sustainer society as we call them, who say, yeah, we believe in what you're doing and we want to contribute to you for the next 5 years. And so that's how we're building on a lot of the work that we've been able to do.
So you are a 501c3, you are a nonprofit, and therefore individuals or folks out there or families out there who have some assets are some resources that they would like to put to good use.
Absolutely.
You are perfectly willing to talk to them and bring them in the fold, so
Absolutely.
to speak, right?
In fact, we have something called a Love Inc. 101, which we do the fourth Wednesday of every month. It's a good chance for people to come have a wonderful meal at our offices there at the campus of the Portico, so not too far from where we are right now in downtown Tampa. The Portico Cafe has wonderful food and some of the best coffee in town. And then also learn about the organization. So it takes about an hour, 12 to 1, fourth Wednesday of every month. It's a Love Inc. 101. We tell you all about the organization and see if you wouldn't like to be a contributor, a supporter, a volunteer. And so, yeah, that's a great opportunity to learn more.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad that, because I don't remember seeing that, but I'm glad we brought that up because I was just going to ask you how many volunteers you had and in your organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we have right around 40 who are particularly active, about a dozen or so who are working in our help center Monday through Thursday. And then we have a growing number who are working through our GAP ministries, because that's another key piece of the work that we're doing. I don't know if you want me to tell you all about GAP ministries.
I want you to share anything you feel like sharing about Love Inc., because this is our opportunity to help those folks out there watching the show on TBAE as well as listening to it on Sun Radio to know everything about you that we can possibly impart in the time that we have.
Okay.
Because you just never know when
We're
that
gonna be here
spark's going to be
3
lit, right?
hours. I'm just kidding.
No, we're kidding. Glenn.
Yeah. So a part of the Love Inc. national model, the first step is launching of a clearinghouse. We call it the Help Center, and that's where again you field referrals from the community for folks who need support. Through that work in the Help Center, we're able to identify gaps in resources in the community.
Okay.
And so the next stage of any Love Inc. is to develop gap ministry to fill those gaps. And so we've been able to do that, partnering with our churches and then also business folks from the community to develop gap ministries like a furniture ministry. Lullaby, which is for diapers and other baby items for new parents. We have a growing group of dentists who said, hey, I can't come into the Help Center and volunteer on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock, but as you have guests going through your process who may have dental issues needing to be resolved, refer them to me because I'd love to contribute my skill, my professional skill in your process of transformation.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and so we have a growing number of gap ministries. Again, that's ways that folks can either get plugged in some more kind of standard ways. Furniture is pretty straightforward, or in some professional skill set that they can offer, like say some lawyers who say, I want to contribute some hours a month pro bono legal support to your guests. And so that's a growing group of volunteers who are really, really committed to transformation as well.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that because, you know, a lot of times some of the issues that lead to needing help can be resolved or help to be resolved by employing having the use of professional services of some kind. You know, having a lawyer help you with something, or like maybe you have, because dental issues are a big thing. I mean, they can affect your whole health of your whole body, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's an important thing. I love that. So, all right. So we've got the Gap Ministries that are also helping. Now, are you working with folks that are, what's the age range of folks that you're transforming and walking beside?
So that's another thing that makes Love Inc. a little bit unique, is we don't have a specific issue like, say, only homelessness. And we also have a wide range of folks that we will work with, depending on if we're best positioned to offer support, because we might not be best positioned.
Okay.
And that's what we determine in the interview process. Can we provide the type of support that this person or these people need? And so really the 18 and up, but usually that means that we're working oftentimes with parents, especially single parents with minor children.
Right.
And so that's the most usual kind of guest case that we have come through, especially our Help Center.
Right. And so this leads me to wonder, like, if they come to you and you go through the interview process and you come to the conclusion that you're not the right entity to help them or work with them, what happens then?
So we make sure that they get connected with the right entity that can work with them in the way that they need best support. I'm sorry, but I'm digging down now. Can you give me an example of what that kind of situation might be? Like maybe off the top of your head, you know one that where they came to you and you said, we're not the right fit, but we know who is. I mean, what circumstance might that be, just for an example? A great example is mental health issues. And so we are a group of amazing volunteers who are doing a lot of the work through especially our Help Center, as I've mentioned a couple times. And so we are not mental health practitioners.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that for that key important issue, that very serious issue, oftentimes folks are getting connected with the right type of support. So we're blessed to have a board member who works at Grace Point Behavioral Health.
Okay.
And so we can very easily get somebody referred to the team over there just to make sure that they get the support that's crucial to their transformation.
Right. How many board members do you have? I'm just kind of curious about that. We don't want to share that with our audience.
Yeah, we have 9 right now. I need like 2 or 3 more.
Oh, so here we go.
Yeah.
Shout out, call out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the board is key to the work that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Whether that's local pastors who have been a part of our board since our launch, or members of other nonprofits, or just folks who say, hey, I want to be part of transformation as best I can, and a board role is the way they can do that.
Okay. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, so I want to make sure that we share with our watching and our listening audience any other bit of information. It could be contact, could be website, could be anything that you think they need to know about before we sign off.
Absolutely. And so we would love to find more churches who want to be part of our growing network of local, connected, coordinated churches. Because what we want to ensure more than anything else, whether it's a formal partner church or just a church from the community community who knows about the work that Love Inc. is doing, that those churches don't feel as though they're on their own when somebody may show up needing support. And so if you are a local church who's interested in being part of the work that we're doing, please reach out to us at the website www.loveinc, and that's INC, loveinctampa.org. And then if you want to volunteer, again, we want to find as many ways as we possibly can to get folks from the community, especially the local faith community, plugged in serving folks who deserve support. And so, you know, I know that whether a church has 50 people or 5,000 people, they all have people. And so we do our best to find the best fit for people to serve in transformative ways. So that's another way that we'd love to have more folks become part of the Love Inc. family.
Well, I am so grateful for you being my guest today on the show. My guest today has been Evan Smith, who is the executive director of Love Inc., which stands for In the Name of Christ, Metro Tampa. And a phenomenal organization, a 501c3. You can Google it like I did, and Google it and go to their website, and you can just drill down like I did and find out everything you need to know about this wonderful organization in case you want to be on the board, you want to be a member church, or you want to be a volunteer. So that's all we have time for today on Connecting with Kim. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we want you to come back next week and join us for another episode of Connecting with Kim, where our role, what I try to do, my mission is to keep you up to date, informed about people, places, and things that I think you ought to know about that can make living your life in our corner of paradise just a little bit better. And as I said before, you can catch us, the audio of the show, on Sun Radio, 96.3 FM, and on your favorite streaming platform. And then, of course, you can use watch.tbae.net so that you can watch us anytime if you don't catch us on Tuesdays and Thursdays here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. So long, be safe, come back next week.